Introduction to the Path to Godhood of Shrek Seven Monsters in Douluo Continent. Based on the first part of Douluo Continent, continue to write about the path to Godhood of Shrek Seven Monsters, hoping to give them and themselves a happy ending. There are many private devices, if you mind, don't come. If you ask, it's me. Thank you everyone. Chapter 1. A New Beginning, 1. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Sparse stars, waning moon. Tang San sat on the ruins of Jialing Pass, listening to the melodious music of the heavenly Dou Empire and the joyful voices of the soldiers, and looking across at the brightly lit lights. It was originally a joyful day of victory, but Tang San's heart quietly felt a sense of desolation. In the distance, there are laughter and joy, but in front of me, there is a corpse wrapped in a horse's clothing. A lively figure flashed behind Tang San, and his lips curved slightly, indicating that she had arrived. His lover, Xiao Wu. She loves him so much that she can sacrifice her life for him. He loved her so much that he could do anything to revive her and stay together forever. Their souls once merged into one, and they were the most important beings in each other's lives. Brother, what's wrong with you? Xiao Wu sat next to Tang San, grabbed his arm, and gently leaned her head against his shoulder, feeling a familiar sense of peace of mind. Tang San tilted his head slightly and kissed Xiao Wu's beautiful hair, gently sniffing the innate fragrance emanating from her body, feeling a little more warmth and satisfaction in his heart. It's nothing, it's just. I feel a bit uneasy inside. The sky above the city wall of Jialing Pass is leisurely, with only these two interdependent figures comforting each other. After experiencing a big war, Xiao Wu's heart was also unprecedentedly confused. The scene of living with my mother in the starry forest before is vividly remembered, and the day my mother died is deeply engraved in my heart. Although there will be Tang San, Shrek Seven Monsters, and Lu Erlong's company in the future, there is still something missing. Now, Bibi Dong has died, the Martial Soul Hall has surrendered, and their revenge has finally been avenged. However, Tang San and Xiao Wu not only did not feel relaxed, but their hearts became even heavier. Under the city wall stood a very simple tomb, with Qian Renxue and Hu Laiina kneeling in front of it. They cried for an unknown amount of time, their voices hoarse, but the tears on their faces had not dried up yet. The master crouched on the side, his face slightly aged, and he murmured, "Donger, from now on, you will be free." He even covered his face and cried, trembling uncontrollably. Lu Erlong stood behind the master, looking at his beloved man. At this moment, the center of his eyes was filled with another woman. He felt a bit unhappy, but soon she abandoned this idea. After fighting with Bibi Dong for so long, no matter what happened in the past, the only person who will accompany Xiao Gang in the future will be her, Lu Erlong. Tang San sighed slightly. Looking at the scene in front of him, his heart finally softened. He would never forgive Bibi Dong for his actions. The tragedies of his parents in this half of his life were caused by the Martial Soul Hall. However, when Bibi Dong begged him not to harm Qian Renxue and Hu Laiina, he couldn't bear it anymore. After all, Bibi Dong was also a pitiful person. Looking at his father's sad face, Tang San unconsciously tightened his small dance in his arms, looked up at the scattered light in the sky, and took a deep breath. No matter what, he would not let his beloved woman get hurt like his father and father did. Xiao Wu leaned against Tang San's chest, feeling his strong and powerful heartbeat, with a sweet expression on her face. They were always so close together. Xiao Wu, we're getting married soon. I know. Yeah, we're getting married soon. After responding to Tang San, Xiao Wu silently recited it again. She looked up at Tang San and saw that his profile was really beautiful. This was Xiao Wu's first thought. Coincidentally, Tang San also turned his head to look at Xiao Wu, his eyes facing each other, full of tenderness. Tang San held Xiao Wu's face and slowly approached. At this moment, the radiance of the sky is not as good as the eyes of the other party. The clear wind and bright moon send to the city, flowers fill the buildings, and the moon is like a hook. The handsome young man lowered his head and kissed the stunning girl, his lips and teeth intertwined as a lifelong commitment. After an unknown amount of time, an orange-red light emanated from the sky, obscuring the clouds. A golden light of 10,000 zhang sprayed in the direction of Tiando camp, and even shone on the desolate battlefield in front of Tang San. The sunshine represented hope and warmth, not only illuminating the darkness, but also illuminating everyone's inner heart. Xiaowu, look at it. It's dawn, everything will be okay, right? Xiao Wu remained silent and stood quietly beside Tang San, tightly holding his hand. That was her answer. In a room inside the Jialing Pass, Oscar was wiping the tears on Ning Rongrong's face at a loss, but the tears were like broken pearls that couldn't stop. Rongrong, don't cry anymore. If you behave like this, Grandpa Sword and Grandpa Bone will also feel sorry for the spirits in heaven. After the end of the war, in order to show gratitude to various sects, Avalanche arranged for Marshal Garong to lead various major sects into Jialing Pass in advance, while he himself celebrated with a group of soldiers in the camp and arranged for the following related matters. It has to be said that the series of instructions from the Avalanche made Tang San increasingly feel that he would be a very enlightened monarch in the future. He knows how to maintain good relationships with his sect, as well as how to appease and win over military morale. When commanding the battlefield, he is also able to apologize for his wrong behavior. Yu reading www.yuukeangshu.net, and previously, due to his relationship with Xue Qinghe or Qian Renxue, he was able to pretend to be a playboy without being discovered. How many people can achieve such a calm mind? The Seven Treasures Glass clan originally supported the Heavenly Dou Empire, but now they have played an important role in the war with the Martial Soul Hall. The more important point is Ning Rongrong. Avalanche, including Ning Fengji, is not clear that Ning Rongrong has inherited the nine-colored goddess. With her 9 treasure glass pagoda alone, she can replace Ning Fengji as the first auxiliary soul master in the mainland. Sword Grandpa, Bone Grandpa, get up. Ning Rongrong shouted with heart-wrenching pain, almost fainting. Ning Fengji sat quietly on the back sofa, looking at the 2 spiritual tablets with a low expression. After the battle, Ning Fengji forcefully supported his already broken body and mind and collapsed directly into the big tent. Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo have accompanied him and the 7 Treasures Glass sect for decades, and his heart is full of respect for them. Now that they have died here, his pain is no less than that of Ning Rongrong. People on the battlefield know that the leader of the 7 Treasures Glass sect, Ning Fengji, turned pale overnight. The gray hair, which originally shone brightly and looked extremely smooth, had turned pure white. He stood up with his cane, his back to Ning Rongrong, and his voice was hoarse. Rongrong, the deceased has passed away. You are the future leader of the 9 Treasures Glass sect, and you should focus on the important matters of the sect. After speaking, he strode out and left the room for Oscar and Ning Rongrong. Ning Rongrong fell to the ground, already sobbing uncontrollably. Oscar held her and let her cry. He understood the importance of these 2 Douluo titles to Ning Rongrong and was also very grateful for their help to the Shrek 7 Monsters along the way. Oscar also expressed regret for their departure. But Uncle Ning is right. The most important thing now is to restore the sect. Rongrong cannot fall, let alone himself. Chapter 2. A New Beginning, 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ning Rongrong casually wiped away the tears on her face, tried hard to pull out a little smile, and looked up at her. Grandpa Jian, Grandpa Bone, Rongrong won't cry. Rongrong will definitely inherit the will of the 2 grandfathers, and together with his father and Xiao Ao, recreate the style of the sect, allowing the 9 Treasures Glass sect to return to its former glory. She held Oscar's hand and trembled unconsciously. Xiao Ao, will you be with me? Oscar tightly held Ning Rongrong in his arms, pressing his chin against her forehead and lightly rubbing it. Rongrong, don't worry, I will always be with you, he said. Where are Dai, Zhu Qing, and Fatty? When will they be back? Oscar lightly patted Ning Rongrong's back, trying to calm her emotions. I heard from the mistress that they are already rushing back, and Xinglua has dealt with it quite well. The power of the Martial Soul Hall is mainly concentrated on the Jiaoling Pass, and there must be no problem with Boss Dai there. That's good, I hope Shrek 7 Monsters can reunite soon. As an auxiliary soul master, she can no longer accept anyone leaving her side. On the other side, in the middle of the Tiando Empire and the Xinglua Empire, on the Tianqing Mountains, 3 figures galloped past the mountaintop. A man in a purple-red cloak looked towards the direction of the Heavenly Dou Empire from afar, his worried expression overflowing with words. The speed under his feet remained unchanged, and he leaned towards the man in white beside him. Boss Dai, what are you saying about Sanji's situation now? We've been there for so long, and we don't know if those people from the Martial Soul Hall will launch an attack on the Heavenly Dou Empire. Dai Mubai furrowed his brows, realizing how despicable the Martial Soul Hall was. However, upon turning his head, he realized that there should be no problem with having a mistress, and there were also several titled Douluo on Tiando's side, so he wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Don't you still believe in the mistress? Alright, don't say so much. There's no big problem with the third brother, let's hurry back and meet everyone. Zhu Zhuqing, dressed in black tight-fitting clothes next to Dai Mubai, spoke lightly. These 3 people are Dai Mubai, Zhu Zhuqing, and Ma Hongjun, who went to the Star Luo Empire to rescue. Xinglua was already strong in military power, and the Martial Soul Hall completely placed the main battlefield at Jiaoling Pass. Therefore, with the support of the 3 of them and a group of disciples of Haotian sect, the Xinglua Empire quickly defeated the Martial Soul Hall side comprehensively. Ha ha ha, okay, then we'll go back immediately. Ma Hongjun chuckled wildly, his right leg slammed on the ground, and he rushed straight into the clouds. His fiery red wings stretched out behind him. Dai, Zhuqing, I can't wait to see Xiangxiang, so I'll take a step ahead. Hey, fat guy. Dai Mubai jumped angrily on the ground, pouting angrily. This chubby guy dares to leave us behind. When he returns to the Heavenly Dou Empire, I must settle accounts with him properly. Zhu Zhuqing covered his mouth and chuckled lightly, don't be angry. He has been away from Xiangxiang for so long, and of course he is in a hurry to meet. Besides, can the fat guy not be excited when he gets a new soul bone? Zhu Zhuqing's voice was cold, instantly calming Dai Mubai's mind and body. Upon careful consideration, Ma Hongjun has indeed looked much more pleasing to the eye since he lost weight. Moreover, on the Star Luo battlefield, he defeated a fire attribute titled Douluo from the Martial Soul Hall and obtained a soul bone of the flame heroic move, which is about 50,000 years old. Both the year and attribute match very well with Ma Hongjun. Dai Mubai looked at Zhu Zhuqing as if he had thought of something before suddenly looking up and laughing, ha ha ha, you're right. The fat guy flew so fast to meet his crush, and my crush is right beside him. Why bother? Dai Mubai was already exceptionally handsome, and his amber eyes were even more alluring. Coupled with sweet words, I don't know how many little girls would be captivated by him. This is also the place that Zhu Zhuqing disliked the most when he first came to Shrek College, but if he said these things to himself, Zhu Zhuqing said it was still very useful. Half an hour later, Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing also arrived at Jiaoling Pass, and the Shrek 7 Monsters reunited. Rongrong, are you okay? Zhu Zhuqing looked at Ning Rongrong, who was half leaning in Xiaowu's arms and had a pale face, and couldn't help but worry. Tang San pulled Dai Mubai and Ma Hongjun and briefly explained what happened after they left. After you leave. Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. Surrender to the Martial Soul Hall. Dai Mubai roared angrily, damn the Martial Soul Hall. If I had been with Zhu Qing at that time, I could have withstood it for a while with the help of the Underworld White Tiger. If the Underworld White Tiger had been able to fight against the sea god Tang San for a while, perhaps Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo wouldn't have fallen to the point of death, but there was no such thing as, if, in this world. People can only look forward, right? Ning Rongrong held the hands of Xiao Wu, Zhu Zhuqing, and Bai Qinxiang, looked up at the blue sky, and tried his best to retrieve the tears from his eyes. Today's sky is very blue, just like the sword energy around Grandpa Jian, which makes people feel relaxed. Do you know what? It feels so good to be alive and to be with you all. Tang San took a step forward, and Yu Yu looked at Oscar solemnly at www.yuukangshu.net. Xiao Ao, if you dare to treat Rongrong badly, don't blame me for being merciless, brother. That's right, Xiao Ao, if you bully Rongrong, I, as the big brother, will be in a hurry with you. Oscar remained silent, his eyes full of determination, and he looked deeply at Dai Mubai and Tang San, nodding solemnly. A great battle at Jialing Pass allowed the 7 monsters to see the cruelty and terror of the war, and to experience life and death firsthand. This left indelible memories in the hearts of both the 7 monsters and Bai Qinxiang. Tang San let out a long sigh and looked at the flag of the Heavenly Dou Empire that had already been raised in the Jialing Pass, which made him worried. The Martial Soul Hall is a common enemy between the two countries, and now that the common enemy no longer exists, the grudges and grievances of Tiando Xinglua will also be put on the agenda in the near future. Brother, don't sigh. Now that we have defeated the Martial Soul Hall, this is the most exciting thing. We should take advantage of this time and play well on the Douluo Continent. What do you think? Xiaowu spoke with a bright expression, her rabbit ears on top of her head swaying and her eyes bright and lively, making Tang San's heart soften, and he circled her in his arms. Okay, you're right. We should take a good rest now. What do you think? Oscar certainly wants to take Ning Rongrong to relax. Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing will probably stay in the room for a few days. As for Ma Hongjun, Tang San looked up at him and estimated that he also needs some opportunity to make Xiang Xiang recognize him. Although there has been some progress in their relationship since the return of Sea God Island, the 6 monsters all feel that their relationship is still a bit lacking. This time, it is best to take this opportunity to completely settle their minds with each other. Friends, Martial Soul Hall, this once our biggest enemy has been defeated by us. In the future, we will face a brand new beginning. Chapter 3. Return to the Old Town, 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shrek 7 Monsters and White Agarwood sat together, each with an excited expression on their faces. Let's go to Haishan Island again. At that time, we didn't take a good stroll in order to pass the assessment. Except for Haima City, we haven't seen any other places yet. According to Haima Douluo, there are many things on Haishan Island that are different from those on land. Xiaowu excitedly suggested that during her trip to Haishan Island, she was still in a state of soul detachment and had not taken a good look at what kind of place Haishan Island was. After the resurrection, Rao heard Rong, Zhu Qing, and Xiang Xiang talk about it, but it's better to see than to hear 100. So when Tang San asked everyone if there were any places they really wanted to go to, Xiao Wu appeared particularly enthusiastic. Tang San patted Xiao Wu's head, his smile deepening at the corner of his mouth. We must go to Sea God Island, but it shouldn't be our first stop. Perhaps. He pretended to pause. Not only did Xiao Wu, who was lying in his arms, lift his head, but others were also quietly waiting for Tang San's next message. Tang San glanced around and saw that the effect had been achieved, then slowly spoke up, perhaps it would be great to go there for our honeymoon after we get married. The remaining 7 people were divided into 2 groups. On one hand, Dai Mubai, Oscar, and Ma Hongjun both gave Tang San admiring looks and quietly raised thumbs, while the remaining few girls couldn't help but blush. Although Xiaowu had already agreed to Tang San's proposal and had always hoped to marry him, when this day came, she couldn't help feeling shy. Her cheeks were like ripe apples, burying her head in Tang San's arms. Listening to his heartbeat, Xiao Wu's face turned even redder. The person beside her was her classmate, her brother, and her husband. Tang San's tone was smiling, but his eyes were particularly sincere. He had been waiting for too long for this day to come. He has gone through too much with Xiaowu, and he can't wait anymore. He wants the whole continent to know that the wife of sea god Tang San is Xiaowu. Cough cough, mistress, you mean we've already figured out where we're going, right? Looking at Tang San and Xiaowu, Dai Mubai couldn't help but envy them. In fact, he had also been delusional before. One day, Zhu Qing would hold him like this and act coquettishly, and he didn't mention it either. However, every time he finished speaking, a pair of shoes would die heroically. Over time, Dai Mubai didn't dare to mention this again. Of course, along the way, we have been able to grow to where we are today. The people we should be most grateful for are the teachers and deans, and haven't you thought of the places we should go the most? Xiao San, you're talking about Shrek Academy. Oscar's mind was very agile, and Tang San couldn't help but understand what he was saying. Yes, Shrek Academy is where their dreams began and also the starting point of their famous Soul Master world. It's not the magnificent Shrek College with the background of the heavenly Do royal family, but the Shrek College that was established in a small village with more teachers than students, where everyone met for the first time. That's right, actually Xiaowu mentioned taking a break for a while. I thought we could go back to Shrek College first, and then go somewhere else. Visiting the old place again, I think we'll have a different feeling. Everyone stood up to express agreement, and for each of them, Shrek College had a different meaning. Since everyone has no objections, let's take a day off and gather before the Jiaoling Gate closes tomorrow morning. Tang San's eyes flashed across everyone, leaving a day for everyone to tidy up and start over. Especially Ning Rongrong, the feeling of family passing away is not pleasant, but it is a hurdle they must go through. In the future, she will enter the divine realm, her life will be extended, and her relatives and friends on the mainland will also leave one after another. What should she do then? After everyone left, Tang San placed Xiaowu on his lap and held her waist with both hands, feeling a ripple in his heart. Xiaowu wrapped her arms around Tang San's neck, staring at him with blinking eyes, facing each other with only oneself in their eyes. Brother, I love you. I love you too. Xiaowu leaned forward, her delicate cherry lips straight against Tang San's lips. Brother's lips are very cold, but very comfortable. This is Xiaowu's first reaction. Tang San's left hand slid up from Xiaowu's waist to her head, tightly clasping her towards him. It felt as if he had integrated her with himself. He liked the girl in front of him who would kiss him voluntarily, whose soul was shining brightly. On the wall of Jiaoling Pass, Bai Qinxiang followed behind the leader of Mintang, Bai He, listening to the four leaders arranging the next arrangements for the Tang clan. I'm talking about Old White Bird. Your granddaughter is at a young age, already at level 60. It's not an exaggeration to say she's the youngest Soul Emperor in the Pure Mindset series. In recent years, my grandson Tai Long has also been under your nose. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net, what do you think of my grandson? Bai Qinxiang became more and more confused as she listened. Isn't it because of Mintang's future development that Grandpa called her here? Why doesn't this topic sound quite right? Bai He carried his left hand behind him and lightly twisted his beard with his right hand, as if he didn't care at all. Tai Long is a good person, but you, the old gorilla, have extended your hand long enough to make plans on my granddaughter. But my promise is useless, and it depends on how Xiang thinks. There was a hint of something, but Bai Qinxiang felt that the four senior colleagues led by her grandfather were directly looking at her. Grandpa and Grandpa Tai don't need to say anything, they really hope to get an answer. What's wrong with the expressions on your faces while watching the play, Grandpa Yang and Grandpa Nyo? Hee, that's good, Tai Long is good, but it's just. Bai Qinxiang fell silent. Her grandfather suddenly mentioned this matter, making Bai Qinxiang unable to figure out how to answer for a while. Moreover, a fiery figure with flames and wings spread on her back vaguely appeared in her heart and deep in her mind. Although he sometimes doesn't have a proper posture, he always stands up and stands in front of him when he is in danger. After so long, he has finally planted a small seed in Bai Qinxiang's heart. Just, it's nothing, Xiang. You can tell it clearly in front of Grandpa. The old gorilla never dares to have any objections. Bai Qinxiang shyly stomped her foot and turned her back. Grandpa, how could my daughter's family's thoughts be revealed in front of so many people? Xiang, the familiar voice came from a distance, and Ma Hongjun deliberately shouted at Bai Qinxiang with a tone, causing Bai He and Titan's faces to turn pale. Yang Wudi and Niu Gao also put aside their expressions while watching the play. Looking at Bai Qinxiang again, her eyes were bright, she tiptoed on her heels, and her whole body leaned forward slightly. Ma Hongjuan's sound was indeed timely. Chapter 4. Return to the Old Town, 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sure enough, from the corner of the city wall, Ma Hongjun ran over and stood in front of Bai Qinxiang. After losing weight, he vaguely looked half a head taller than Bai Qinxiang, surrounded by the phoenix aura all over his body. The phoenix is originally the emperor of 10,000 birds, a natural suppression in the bloodline. Moreover, after Ma Hongjun obtained the soul bone of the flame heroic move, his soul power broke through from level 93 to level 94, making him the most powerful among the 6 people present. Xiang, why didn't you come over without saying a word, causing me to look for you for a long time? Bai Qinxiang pursed her lips and said unhappily, I'm looking for my grandfather. What should I say to you? Ma Hongjun lowered his body and looked up at Bai Qinxiang. Oh, Xiang, isn't she missing you? You don't know that during the days when I went to the Star Luo Empire, I was thinking of you all the time. Bai Qinxiang glanced at Ma Hongjun beside him with her eyelids, the corners of my mouth raised a bit invisibly, and I was in a good mood. The 4th Hall Master stood beside him, neither leaving nor staying, especially the Titan. He was really worried that Ma Hongjun might hear the conversation just now and have some unfriendly intentions towards the Titan. Noticing that Bai Qinxiang was not really angry, Ma Hongjun stood up straight and looked in the direction of Bai He and the others. For seniors, I came to convey the message of my 3rd brother. Tomorrow, our 7 monsters, along with Xiang, will go to rest for a period of time. We will follow the master's arrangements regarding the Tang clan, but the hidden weapons on the battlefield must be destroyed immediately and no hidden dangers can be left behind. The disciples of the Power Hall must keep records and protect them, and cannot keep them privately. This requires the attention of the Titan Hall Master. The disciples of Mintong continue to patrol around, don't relax too much. Although the Martial Soul Hall surrenders, there is no guarantee that they will not make a dying struggle in the end. The main purpose of the Medicine Hall and the Imperial Hall is to help the 9 Treasures Liuli sect rebuild its sect. In this battle, the sword Douluo fell, causing great damage to the 7 Treasures Liuli sect. Uncle Ning's physical condition is not very good, so Yang Wudi Hall should pay more attention. After the battlefield cleaning is completed, all members of the Tang clan will immediately return without stopping, let alone accepting the royal family's rewards without the 3rd brother's knowledge. Tang San and the 6 monsters discussed this for a long time. Although the Tang clan has indeed been supported by the Heavenly Do royal family, or in other words, without their strong support, the hidden weapons and power of the Tang clan would not have developed so quickly, and there is a faint trend of becoming the first sect in the mainland. Although the leader of the Tang clan is the highly respected Blue Hao King, this is just one of Tang San's identities, independent of the sect. He hopes that the Tang clan can fight for itself, for the light, and for justice in the future, and never cause unnecessary disputes to satisfy anyone's interests. Ma Hongjuan's words were impassioned and passionate, with a hint of divine radiance in his expression. At this moment, his back was facing the sunlight, and the scorching aura emanating from his body made the light and shadow around Ma Hongjun somewhat unreal, full of an unreal feeling. The head of the 4th hall nodded and said yes, then his gaze towards Ma Hongjun became stronger. When we first met, although he had great talent and soul power, he was just a chubby little man who knew he was following Tang San. After experiencing some experience, he has also grown into a responsible and capable person. The other 3 hall masters instinctively looked at Bai He. These 4 people were already too familiar, and Ma Hongjun had genuine feelings for Bai Qinxiang. Moreover, when going to Haishan Island for training, Old White Bird entrusted Xiang to take care of him. Perhaps he had already secretly decided on this grandson-in-law in his heart. Since that's the case, I won't disturb you. Ma Hongjun said goodbye to the 4 of them and pressed his face against Bai Qinxiang, showing an almost flattering expression. Xiang, did I perform well just now? Looking at the face that was placed in front of him in an instant, Bai Qinxiang couldn't help but slap and shout over. Stay away from me. After saying this, he stretched his ponytail with both hands and lifted his head proudly before leaving. Looking at the backs of the 2, Bai He couldn't close his mouth and said, "It seems that your grandson doesn't have a chance, old gorilla." Titan felt a bit helpless, but it was Old White Bird who begged for his help to test Bai Qinxiang's thoughts. Now, he is not a good person either inside or outside. You've earned it. Don't come to me if you have anything to do in the future. You Old White Bird is like crossing a river and demolishing a bridge. Humph, go, don't let me see you. The preparation time always passed quickly. The next morning, the weather was good, and Tang San appeared at the city gate with Xiao Wu in his arms. A pair of handsome blue clothes and delicate pink clothes will always be the focus of attention no matter where they go. After a night of recovery, Ning Rongrong's condition has improved significantly. Although his face is still a bit pale, fortunately his eyes have regained some radiance. Ma Hongjun and Bai Qinxiang have always adhered to their playful style, with 2 figures, one red and one white, charging straight into the clouds from within the Jiaoling Pass. Tang San is sometimes really curious. How could Ma Hongjun always bump into Bai Qinxiang's angry spot? Didn't he meet quite a few girls before? How could your mouth be so stupid? As for Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing, they were the last group to arrive. After the 8 of them separated yesterday, they returned to their own room. At Dai Mubai's request, it was the most soundproof and remote room in the Jiaoling Pass. Mubai, your endurance is amazing. Even a fool could guess that the 2 of them must have done something indescribable in the room. As they walked over, Tang San couldn't help but speak up. After hearing these words, Dai Mubai was not angry and waved his hand casually. After all, it was a kind of praise for him. Xiaowu tightened her tightly wrapped arm and pinched Tang San's waist with her fingers, causing him to twitch. Xiaowu's face was full of anger, her lips pursed like 2 cherries, making Tang San unable to resist the urge to take a bite. Brother! Xiaowu scolded Tang San and pulled out her hand to hold on to Zhu Qing and Rongrong. She then shouted a fragrant fragrance into the sky, and the 4 girls walked ahead hand in hand. Ning Rongrong turned around and looked at the men who were still stuck in place, dumbfounded and laughing. I said, are you not planning to go yet? Ma Hongjun fell to the ground and jumped directly onto Oscar from behind, shouting, let's go. Dai Mubai and Tang San exchanged a glance, smiled at each other, and set off. Returning to the old place is always joyful. In the tent of the Tiando Empire, Marshal Garong stood at the head and was reporting to the Avalanche about the cleaning work on the battlefield. I hereby inform your majesty that after conducting an inventory on the battlefield of Jialingwan, a total of 8 soul bones have been discovered, all of which were obtained from the deceased worshippers entitled Douluo. Avalanche supported his forehead with his hand and looked into the bag presented by Garong, where 8 glowing soul bones containing immense soul power were present. Garong, go and personally deliver these soul bones to the teacher's hands. Avalanche is also a soul master, and he naturally understands how difficult it is to produce soul bones. 8 soul bones can already attract many people. But Garong didn't expect that the avalanche would be so easily handed over to King Lanhao, and he still had to personally deliver it. Isn't this just because I'm worried about what might happen on the way? Although Garong was puzzled, he nodded and agreed. After leaving the camp, he immediately set off to pursue Tang San and others. Avalanche sat in the middle of the camp, holding the throne tightly. He knew that only by retaining Tang San could the future of the Heavenly Dou Empire be preserved. Chapter 5. Return to the Old Town, 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Everyone ate Oscar's flying mushroom intestines and headed towards the city of Soto. Along the way, mountains, rivers, forests, and plains flashed rapidly beneath them, creating a dynamic scene. Ma Hongjun looked up at the sky and rested his hands comfortably behind his head. I said, brothers, we need to hurry up a bit, otherwise we probably won't be able to arrive today. Dai Mubai accelerated forward and kicked Ma Hongjun's buttocks. This guy has been too arrogant lately. If he doesn't teach him a lesson, he won't be able to find the north. Oh my goodness. Dai Mubai's strength was very strong, and Ma Hongjun couldn't dodge enough. He flipped over in mid-air and tried to steer himself in the right direction to avoid falling. He saw that there was still some distance left before catching up with others and approached Dai Mubai, saying, Dai, can't you give my brother's face? Xiangxiang is still here. Fat man, don't worry, Xiangxiang may have gotten used to how we take care of you. Third brother, why do you say that? They always want to leave a powerful and domineering impression on Xiangxiang. Tang San couldn't help but laugh as he watched Ma Hongjun's somewhat coquettish tone. After the war was over, it was rare for life to be so leisurely. Tang San's mood was good, and Xiao Wu and the others followed suit. Seeing Ma Hongjun's somewhat disheveled expression, they also thought of what had happened. A few people surrounded Ma Hongjun and laughed together. Ma Hongjun was definitely one of the happy fruits in Shrek 7 Strangers before, and he didn't care much about these things. After all, they were brothers. But now he looks up and sees Bai Qinxiang. She is also covering her mouth and eyes and looking at herself with a smile. Suddenly, Blush turns red, regardless of explanation or nonsense, and rushes out after a gap. Hey, fat guy. Brother, are you saying we're a bit too much? Fat guy. Xiao Wu hesitated as Tang San touched Xiao Wu's head and sighed lightly. Fat guy just wants to show more in front of Xiangxiang. Mu Bai, Xiao Ao, let's also pay more attention in the future. No one loved Shrek 7 more than Shrek 7. The small episode did not affect everyone's mood. With the help of Oscar Mushroom Sausage, the 8 of them successfully returned to Soto City in the afternoon. As soon as we arrived at the village gate, the 5-word Shrek Academy came into view. Memories instantly come back to my mind. We're back again. Dai Mubai took the lead and strode in, from the Star Luo Empire to the Heavenly Dou Empire. He went through countless experiences, initially just to escape Davis and his responsibility as the Prince of Star Luo. Later, he met his brother, reunited with his lover, regained his confidence and glory, not for Star Luo, but for himself and Zhu Qin. Tang San followed Xiao Wu behind Dai Mubai, looking around. The people in the village had already moved out, and weeds had grown outside the dormitory. Xiao Wu. Tang San called Xiao Wu's name lightly, and it was here that they confirmed each other's intentions. It was also here that Tang San gradually grew from an ordinary soul master to a sea god. Brother, I'm here. Xiao Wu and Tang San were tightly intertwined, affectionately leaning on his shoulder. He didn't need to say much, but she was always there whenever he needed her. For her, this is her second home outside the Star Forest, and the time spent with everyone is a journey full of love and being loved. Zhu Qin did not follow Dai Mubai, but leaned against the door alone, looking at the 5 characters above. When Zhu Qin first came here, he said he wanted to become stronger, but the bigger reason was because Dai Mubai chose this place. However, after experiencing so much, Zhu Qin understood that what he missed the most was not the home of the Star Luo Empire, but the somewhat dilapidated college in the small village of Soto City. Oscar and Ning Rongrong walked into the door side by side, and their emotions towards this place were also different. Oscar is an orphan who has lived here since childhood. For him, Shrek Academy is the place where he was born and raised. Every plant, every flower, and every tree here are all of great significance to him. Even luckier, he met his lifelong love here, and now he has the power to protect her. Friend, you're just a little soul saint. While Ning Rongrong was sighing, Ma Hongjuan's voice drifted over. With this reminder, everyone still remembers Ning Rongrong's true identity as a little witch when he first arrived at Shrek. Ning Rongrong blushed with embarrassment. If he hadn't come here, he might have maintained the temper of the little princess of the 7 treasures of the glass sect. He hadn't grown up and remained unchanged. Thinking of this, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but feel that his father's decision to send him here was truly the right one. As for Ma Hongjun, his emotions are slightly different from those of others. He is a mutated martial soul in the family, from a grass chicken to a phoenix, which is a change he never imagined. At first, he couldn't control his soul power at all. Fortunately, Dean Fran didn't dislike him and resolutely accepted him as his legitimate disciple. Although Fran later said it was to let his phoenix martial soul collect wealth for him, Ma Hongjun understood that Dean Fran was just a sharp-tongued tofu heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to the Tiendo Royal Academy for the sake of everyone's future. Among the people present, only Bai Qinxiang stood still, neither entering nor exiting. A person awkwardly stirred her fingers, Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net. Before encountering the Shrek 7 monsters, she sometimes felt that her talent was still good, but later on, seeing everyone's strength, she understood why she called them Shrek. They are not humans, they are monsters. Whether it is talent, strength, or mentality, they are all monsters among monsters. Saying not to envy is false, but she is very fortunate to be with them now and experience the future together. Ma Hongjun noticed Bai Qinxiang's awkwardness and walked slowly to her side, reaching out his hand to hold her. Bai Qinxiang quickly dodged and added a hum. Ma Hongjun sighed and said to himself, "We 7 monsters have really gone through a lot of ups and downs. From our first meeting, to the Soto City Soul Battle, from the All-Continent Advanced Soul Masters Elite Competition, to the Sea God Island. Every time was difficult and dangerous, but we managed to get through it." Bai Qinxiang turned her head and looked at Ma Hongjun, his eyes shining brightly as he looked at the 6 people in front. 3 girls walked hand in front, while Xiao Wu insisted on holding Tang San with her other hand. Dai Mubai was also unwilling to be outdone and hugged Zhu Zhuqing's neck. Oscar wanted to pounce, but under the threat of Ning Rongrong's gaze, he could only walk to Dai Mubai's side in a gloomy manner, causing everyone to burst into laughter. Xiang, look, it would be great if all of us could continue like this. Bai Qinxiang has also been gradually understanding the feelings of the 7 monsters in recent years, and she nodded solemnly. I will definitely do it. Shrek 7 monsters are the best. Yes, Shrek 7 monsters are the best, and so are you. Ma Hongjuan's deep voice rang in Bai Qinxiang's ear. Taking advantage of her lack of reaction, Ma Hongjun flew and kissed Bai Qinxiang's face. Bai Qinxiang covered her face in embarrassment and anger, raising her fist. Ma Hongjun was frightened and fled, suddenly breaking away from the 6-person formation ahead. However, warm smiles appeared on both of their faces. Chapter 6. Soul Bone Absorption, 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, the weather was warm and sunny, with sunlight shining through the window on the people in the room. Last night, 8 people sat around the open space outside the village, drinking and singing, lamenting the changes of each person over the years. 13 years have passed, and I didn't expect us all to reunite here again. Come on, let's not get drunk tonight. Dai Mubai let out a loud shout, stood up straight, and took a jar of wine. Gudong took 2 or 3 sips before finishing it. He threw the jar aside and the ground was covered in fragments. Brothers, drink, no one wants to escape today. If it comes to being bold and domineering, Dai Mubai is definitely the top 7 monsters. From the sunset to the bright moon in the sky, 8 people drank 1 cup after another, 1 jar after another, and the joy of the great victory at Jiaoling Pass was beyond words. Over the past 13 years, we have shared joys and sorrows, sailing through thick and thin. Everyone is filled with emotions. Oscar was slightly tipsy, leaning against Ning Rongrong's shoulder. His silver hair occasionally brushed over Ning Rongrong's neck, causing her to itch a bit. He was so drunk that he held onto the wine jar and didn't let go. He patted the table and said to everyone, "Hey, take a look at the mistress, who has been blocking the wine for Xiao Wu. This is true love." Ma Hongjun also drank a bit too much, swaying the table and walking to Oscar's side, pointing to Ning Rongrong and saying, "Why don't you drink for Rongrong? Aren't you really in love?" Zhu Zhuqing shook his head helplessly. These two people are just joking, but then again, what the fat guy said is not unreasonable. Dai Mubai has never helped himself block the drink. Thinking of this, he still glanced at Dai Mubai, who was still drinking happily beside him, in anger. Tang San stopped Ma Hongjun from drinking Xiaowu's wine on one side, while on the other side, he hugged Dai Mubai and forcefully twisted his head towards Zhu Zhuqing's direction. Dai Mubai's eyes were a bit hazy, his collar was open, and he had a sinister smile at the corner of his mouth. He reached out and grabbed Zhu Zhuqing, taking her into his arms. Due to his rough movements, Zhu Zhuqing's glass in his hand was knocked over, and his collar was wet. Tang San smiled. What he wanted was actually this effect, so that Dai Mubai wouldn't pull himself to drink, which would leave him with no time to consider the situation on Xiaowu's side. Moreover, Tang San also harbored his own caution. He looked at Xiao Wu, gathered her clothes, and drank 3 cups and 2 cups of light wine, which made Xiao Wu's cheeks blush and his eyes hazy. The wine stains left on her lips seemed to have a heart-wrenching spell, attracting Tang San to approach her step by step. "Tsk tsk tsk, Xiao Ao, take a look at these people. It's really..." Ma Hongjun lifted his glass and rolled his eyes back to his seat. "Even though I was trying to persuade someone to drink, why did I take a sip? Oh, not 2 mouthfuls of dog food." Tang San and Xiao Wu stood side by side, wearing a coat. He gently stroked Xiao Wu's waist, and his soft waist couldn't help but make Tang San feel restless, actively welcoming Xiao Wu's cherry lips. The rabbit's ears on Xiao Wu's head trembled slightly, swaying up and down with Tang San's breath, and her cheeks were as delicate as 2 pomegranate petals. Tang San's movements were very gentle, afraid of hurting Xiao Wu, but looking at Dai Mubai behind him, he became much more irritable. Zhu Zhuqing sat directly on his thigh, his lips touching each other, full of love. What left Ma Hongjun speechless was that Dai's hands were very dishonest, constantly wandering behind Zhuqing. This is definitely killing the heart. Ma Hongjun couldn't think of any other adjective. But fortunately, Xiao Ao is with him. "Xiao Ao, Xiao Ao. Shoo, fat guy, keep your voice down. Xiao Ao is asleep." Oscar held on to Ning Rongrong and didn't let go, occasionally rubbing his face in his sleep. Bah! A group of people who value sex over friends. Ma Hongjun angrily kicked over the chairs and looked at Bai Qinxiang with anger. After receiving the cold gaze from the other person, he immediately turned back and sighed heavily. "Forget it, I don't care anymore. Go back to sleep and let them stay here." Ma Hongjun stood up, walked to the original dormitory, pointed to the other side, and said to Bai Qinxiang, "That's the girls' dormitory over there. You can go there yourself, depending on the situation, they may not go back." The next morning, the dazzling sunlight woke up Ma Hongjun. He looked left and right, and sure enough, third brother and Dai Lao didn't come back. Xiao Ao probably brought them back by Rongrong and Xiangxiang. He really drank too much last night. He rubbed his temples and wobbled out of the door, only to find everyone standing at the entrance and surrounding the city, with Marshal Garong in the center of the circle. What's going on? How did Marshal Goron come over? Is it because the Marshal's Soul Hall is making a comeback and the war is starting again? Unable to wake up Oscar, Ma Hongjun hurriedly ran over and said, "Third brother, what happened?" Tang San's eyebrows furrowed, which made Ma Hongjun even more worried. Is it possible that he is a god-level powerhouse? He hasn't seen third brother's expression for a long time. I hope Marshal can help us convey our gratitude to His Majesty. Tang San knows what to do. After nodding to each other, Golong and Tang San did not stop and immediately returned, as there were still many things on the Jialing Pass that he needed to oversee. Xiao San, you decide, we'll all listen to you. Dai Mubai's voice was deep. The wine last night was too spicy, and even after a whole night, one could hear a slight hoarse voice, which made the whole mood even lower. Ma Hongjuan's heart was almost in his throat. He clenched his fists and waited for the third brother's command to be ready to attack at any time. Ha ha ha, oh my god, I can't hold back anymore. I don't know who laughed first, followed by a series of laughter. Dai Mubai patted Ma Hongjuan's shoulder and smiled back and forth. Fatty guy didn't expect you to be quite cute. Ma Hongjun blushed and felt a little aggrieved. Xiang, look at them. Seeing Bai Qinxiang's sweet and smiling expression, his feigned anger also diminished by half. Third brother, what exactly is Marshal Garong doing here? Your Majesty sent Marshal Garong to deliver this. Tang San wiped his hand on the bright moon night of the 24 bridges, and a plain cloth bag fell on Tang San's hand. However, Ma Hongjun could clearly feel the intense fluctuation of soul power on the bag, which seemed to have affected the surrounding air. Is it a soul bone? Tang San nodded, and Ma Hongjun thought carefully. Apart from the soul bone, he couldn't think of anything with such powerful power for the time being. I obtained the soul bones from the Marshal Soul Hall, totaling 8 pieces. Your Majesty sent Marshal Garong to deliver them to me. At this moment, Oscar also came over and happened to hear Tang San's words. He immediately ran to Ning Rongrong's side in 3 steps and 2 steps, exaggerating his gaze at Tang San. I really deserve to be the king of Blue Hao. You see how much your Majesty values me. Tang San listened to Oscar's words but didn't say anything. He understood that Avalanche was doing this just to continue guarding the Tiando Empire. I won't say anything else for now. I'm already a full soul bone. I'll go investigate these pieces later to see if they're suitable for everyone. The others nodded, completely trusting Tang San. Chapter 7 Soul Bone Absorption, 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even though Tang San was used to seeing heavenly and earthly treasures, the 8 soul bones in front of him were still somewhat excited. At present, the soul bone configuration of the Shrek 7 Monsters is Tang San. Wisdom Skull for spiritual cohesion, body bone of the deep sea demon whale king, right arm bone of the azure bull python, left arm bone of the titan ape, left leg bone of the demon tiger whale king, right leg bone of the blue silver emperor, and outer soul bone 8 spider spears. Xiao Wu. Soft bone charming rabbit's right arm bone, spirit condensing charming skull. Oscar. Mirror skull. Ning Rongrong. Illusionary wisdom skull. Dai Mubai. The right leg bone of the bloodthirsty madness hurricane, and the right arm bone of the white-eyed demon tiger king. Zhu Zhuqing. Chasing the wind at full speed, left leg bone, black ghostly right leg bone. Ma Hongjun. Explosion burning flame right arm bone, flame heroic strike left leg bone. The rarity of soul bones is well known in the Soul Master world, but the 7 monsters in front of us only cost 17 yuan, and now there are 8 more, which makes us marvel at the degree of abnormality of this group of people. Tang San took out 8 soul bones, arranged them in a row, and placed them in front of everyone. There are a total of 2 left arm bones, 1 head soul bone, 3 left leg bones, 1 right arm bone, and 1 trunk sole bone. Xiang, this is for you. Tang San handed a left leg bone that shone with a light purple light to Bai Qinxiang. Although this sole bone is only around 40,000 years old, it was produced by the rock falcon. I have seen this animal in my father's notes, the rock falcon, which is a unique species on the border of the Star Luo Empire. It combines attack, defense, and speed, making it the most suitable for you now. Although Bai Qinxiang's pointed-tailed swallow soul is extremely fast, it can be said to be weak in defense and attack. If she encounters a high-level control-type soul master, there is probably no possibility of reversing the situation. Bai Qinxiang held her soul bone in both hands and felt a little excited. She looked at Tang San and then at Ma Hongjun, and said, "Third brother, is this really for me?" Although it has been 5 years and 7 monsters have completely accepted Bai Qinxiang, she still feels a little estranged in her heart. She is afraid that she is not worthy to stand with them. Ma Hongjun pushed his soul bone into Bai Qinxiang's arms with a big hand, casually waving his hand. "Third brother, I thank you for Xiang." Oscar also coaxed, "Why do you replace me? Who are you, Xiang?" "Of course I am Xiang's future man." Bai Qinxiang gave Ma Hongjun a fierce blow, but then opened his mouth to express gratitude, "Thank you." Tang San picked up the torso soul bone again, which was filled with the surging power of the sea, similar to the soul bone on his own body. Surprisingly, there are 90,000 years. A soul beast that can be encountered for 100,000 years is rare, and 90,000 years is also rare. Even though Tang San inherited the position of sea god, he was slightly surprised. Oh, it really deserves to be the martial soul hall. Even a soul beast that has been around for 90,000 years can be hunted. At this point, Tang San's killing intent appeared in his eyes. "Mom, Xiaowu, Daming, Erming, which one is not the handwriting of the martial soul hall?" "Mu Bai, this is for you." The attack of the deep-sea tiger shark is extremely fierce and rapid, and even Xiao Bai dare not easily confront him. Moreover, this soul bone is as old as 90,000 years, which is definitely beneficial to you. Dai Mu Bai nodded at Tang San and took it over, smiling at Zhu Zhuqing. Tang San held the right arm bone and looked at Ning Rongrong with some embarrassment. "Third brother, just speak up." Years of companionship had already helped Shrek 7 Monsters develop a wonderful understanding. This soul bone comes from a 60,000-year-old phantom moon rabbit. Upon hearing this name, Xiao Wu's expression was taken aback. If we had to calculate, Huan Yu Tu and Xiao Wu might still be related. When I was a child, I heard my mother say that the phantom moon rabbit is a very rare soul beast, and their ability is to hallucinate. They can instantly make their opponents lose themselves in the illusion they create. Even stronger opponents will be limited by the illusion, leaving time for escape or counterattack. But the illusion of the moon rabbit is so powerful, why is its quantity so rare? Oscar asked, and Tang San and Xiao Wu's expressions just now told him that things are not so simple. The scarcity of quantity is because if the phantom moon rabbit wants to create an illusion that can confuse opponents, it must go deep into the illusion on its own. Many phantom moon rabbits will lose themselves and eventually collapse mentally. Moreover, Rongrong, you are a weapon soul, and hastily absorbing the beast's soul bones may have an impact on your body. After all, your situation is somewhat different from my brother's. Ning Rongrong's physical fitness has always been the worst among the 7 monsters of Shrek, and Tang San carried her to cross the sea god's light back then. Even though she has now become a Ban Douluo, her physical fitness still differs significantly from everyone else. Every word of Xiao Wu struck hard on Oscar's heart, but she must make it clear that only by explaining everything that could happen in advance, can she protect Ning Rongrong the best. Oscar turned around and looked at Ning Rongrong, his left hand breaking through and gripping her wrist tightly. "Third brother, give it to me." "Rongrong, have you really thought of it?" "Zhu Qing, don't worry. Ning Rongrong looked straight into Tang San's eyes, his gaze fixed. Tang San lowered his head and smiled, handing over the right arm bone of the phantom moon rabbit. It was his own mistake. Rongrong was no longer the little princess of the Seven Treasures Glass sect. She was responsible, capable, and the new leader of the Nine Treasures Glass sect. If Rongrong has any questions, please let us know and we will all help you, okay? Ning Rongrong nodded at Xiaowu and smiled sweetly. The 8 soul bones sent by Marshal Garong are only suitable for these 3, and although the other 5 are of good age, unfortunately they are not the soul bones they need the most. Everyone also understands very clearly that this kind of thing is too urgent, it's useless to be in a hurry. I'll put these 5 pieces away for now. When we go back, I'll return them to your majesty and see how he arranges. After selecting the soul bones, everyone went back to their respective rooms to absorb them, and the other 3 provided protection for their loved ones. Tang San quietly walked out with a small dance. Brother, what are we going to do? Tang San looked at Xiao Wu beside him, his eyes filled with tenderness and love. It will take some time for Mu Bai and his companions to absorb their soul bones. I want to take you back to the Star Forest and let you meet them. Xiao Wu naturally understood Tang San's meaning. Upon hearing the words, Xiao Wu's eyes turned red and her hands trembled slightly. Brother, let's go quickly. I want to see them. Tang San picked up Xiao Wu, activated his flying skills, and in less than a stick of incense, he arrived at the Starry Forest. A few years have passed, and this place is still the same as before, but when we come here again, things have changed and people have changed. Chapter 8. Long time no see, Ming Dynasty 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since Tang San cleaned up 3 Qianjun Ant Empresses here at the same time, no soul beasts dare to covet here anymore. Xiao Wu walked to the lake, and the sunlight reflected on the surface of the lake, shimmering like a handful of diamonds scattered by heaven. Xiao Wu's figure was reflected in the water, and the once stunning beauty's eyebrows and eyes were filled with a sense of loss and sadness. Brother, do you know that Daming and Erming have lived together for 100,000 years? Since my mother was killed by the Martial Soul Hall, they have been guiding and comforting me. For me, they are also my family. Tang San stood behind Xiao Wu, placing his hand on her shoulder. At this moment, everything he said was in vain. De Ming and Ming sacrificed their last strength to themselves. Even if it was just for this reason, Tang San would always protect Xiao Wu. Alright, Xiao Wu, stop crying. Daming Erming will be sad to see you like this. Tang San urged the sea god's power and infused it into the arm bones on both sides. The 2 soul bones emitted a dazzling light, and then 2 virtual shadows appeared above them, namely the Titan Ape and the Azure Bull Python. Watching the 2 shadows gradually become clearer, Xiao Wu couldn't help but cry again. She kept muttering about Daming and Erming, and originally wanted to talk to them a lot, such as resurrecting herself, eliminating the Martial Soul Hall, inheriting the sea god position, and wanting to say many things like them. But when Xiao Wu saw them appearing in front of her, she couldn't say anything other than their names. Daming, Erming. Xiao Wu cried and ran forward, reaching out to hug them, but only caught a mist. Her hand trembled, and her gaze refused to leave them. Xiao Wu, I'm glad to see you again. You're still so beautiful. Daming's voice was a bit hoarse, and apart from Erming and Xiao Wu, he really didn't speak much. Perhaps all his tenderness has been given to Xiao Wu. Daming, Erming, long time no see. Xiao Wu wiped away her tears and raised her smiling face again, smiling sweetly. She thought she had been around humans for long enough and had attended school to understand emotions, but for the first time, she realized that her language was so scarce that she couldn't say anything except for a long time no see. Tang San, my elder brother, and I didn't see you wrong. You have indeed resurrected Xiao Wu. Tang San was grateful on his face. If it weren't for their sacrifice, he wouldn't have broken through quickly in a short time, and the soul skills bestowed by their soul bones have helped him overcome danger multiple times. Two brothers, resurrect Xiaowu and eliminate the martial soul hall. I have fulfilled all the promises I have made to you. Now that I have inherited the sea god position, I promise you will find a way to resurrect your brothers. Eliminating the martial soul hall struck heavily on the head of Ming and Ming. The phantom on the soul bones became somewhat blurred due to emotional fluctuations, and tears could be vaguely seen in the corners of their eyes. Ha ha ha, the martial soul hall has been destroyed. Alright. Tang-san, give Xiaowu to you and we can rest assured. Tang-san, take us back. Our souls are still too weak to stay outside for a long time. Also, don't rashly transmit the power of the sea god to us. With the strength of the sea god, Ming and I cannot bear it now. Xiaowu took a few steps forward, bent down, and pressed her face against two phantom shadows. Ming and Ming, are you going back? Xiaowu can't bear to part with you. Ming raised her hand and tried to wipe away the tears from Xiaowu's face. Xiaowu doesn't cry. Seeing that you're okay, we can rest assured. Moreover, Tang-san has become a god. Are we afraid we won't meet again? After saying these words, Ming's eyes became dim, as if Xiaowu had lost her soul in the beginning. Tang-san withdrew the power of the sea god, let's go back first. Take care of Xiaowu. Tang-san withdrew the power of the sea god, and the light on his soul bone disappeared, and everything around him returned to calm. Brother, thank you for everything you have done for me. Ming and I have been living together for 100,000 years, and we are together no matter what we do. Tang-san touched Xiaowu's hair and comforted her softly. I understand, just like us Shrek 7 Monsters. Xiaowu, I promise you that I will find a way to revive Ming and I will definitely reunite you. Tang-san's eyes were clear, and his determination was evident. All his words will be fulfilled one by one. The two of them snuggled up by the lake and sat quietly from day till night. If he could stay here forever, Tang-san would be willing, as long as Xiaowu stays by his side, it's okay. Brother, would you please kiss me? Xiaowu suddenly spoke to Tang-san, as they never needed to hide from each other. Tang-san held Xiaowu's face and met her cherry lips, gently touching them, as if facing a rare treasure. A crystal-clear tear fell between their lips, salty. Watching Xiaowu's face turn red, Tang-san reluctantly left her, but he didn't give up and suddenly lowered his head to ask for a peck. Holding on to Xiaowu, at this moment, Tang-san's heart was filled with unprecedented satisfaction. The evening breeze suddenly rose and brought the fragrance of flowers and cool lake water to their faces. From among the trees, scattered light suddenly appeared around the two of them. Yu read a book www.yuyukangshu.net. This is a hymn given by the Starry Forest to the two of them. In the Starry Forest, the two of them are in the midst of flowers and under the moon, creating a warm and romantic atmosphere, while the three of them absorbing soul bones at Shrek Academy are not as relaxed. Daimubai sat on the open space outside, with his entire upper body exposed. His originally white robe had already been stretched open by the suddenly bulging muscles. The color of the eyes has turned into evil eyes, and the first, third, fifth, and seventh soul rings on the body light up. White Tiger Bodyguard Barrier, White Tiger Diamond Transformation, White Tiger Demon God Transformation, and White Tiger True Body all attached. The originally golden hair turned white, and the dazzling Wang Zizhang on his forehead highlighted the majesty of his martial soul. A 3-meter-high white tiger phantom appeared behind him, instantly driving all the surrounding air to gather towards Daimubai's side. Zhu Zhuqing watched Daimubai's situation from a distance on a nearby tree. This soul bone has great soul power and resentment, and cannot follow the normal process of soul bone absorption. It can only resist the attack of resentment until the resentment inside the soul bone is completely dissipated before it can be absorbed. Is Mu Bai planning to use all the boosting skills as soon as she comes up? Zhu Zhuqing frowned. In her opinion, gradual progress is better, but Dai Mubai planned to face all the resentment head-on from the beginning. This was clearly a gamble on which side soul power rate should be exhausted first. She unconsciously clenched her fist, not daring to shift her gaze away from Dai Mubai. Dai Mubai's mouth curved upwards with an unparalleled domineering aura. How could he not understand Zhu Zhuqing's concerns? The reason why he did this is because Tang San once told him that for a soul beast with great resentment, only a direct confrontation can ensure that the opponent's full soul power is retained. Since it is a soul bone produced by a soul beast that has been around for 90,000 years, and even Xiao San was shocked a bit, how could he not let go of any of his soul power? Chapter 9. Soul Bone Absorption, 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dai Mubai released his soul power at a moment and headed straight towards the soul bone in front of him. The body and bones floating in the air were shaken violently by the impact force, and a dark mist emanated from all around, gradually converging into the shape of a fish soul beast. With a body length of nearly 10 meters and more than 50 dorsal fin spines growing on its back, the fish's tail is as wide as 5 meters. It shakes violently in the air, and the resentment spreads in a wave-like manner towards the surroundings. The surging air waves directly face the light waves of Mubai. The two forces were in sharp opposition from the beginning, and Zhu Zhuqing jumped more than 10 meters in succession before barely escaping the range of their impact. It seems that this is the deep-sea tiger shark. This resentment is not small, murmured Zhu Zhuqing. Tang San is right. The deep-sea tiger shark attacks fiercely, and even the demonic soul great white shark, who is a sea hegemon, dare not easily launch an attack. Moreover, the living habits of deep-sea tiger sharks are different from other sea soul beasts. In order to compete for the favor of female tiger sharks, adult male deep-sea tiger sharks will engage in duels until one of them is completely killed before stopping. To put it bluntly, the male tiger sharks in the deep-sea tiger shark population can be said to have experienced countless battles and are strong in their attacks, never giving up. In order to catch and kill this 90,000-year-old deep-sea tiger shark, Qian Daolu and the 6 major worshippers used Yin techniques to trap it on land and suffocate it to death, which gave them an opportunity to take advantage of. Although soul beasts on Douluo Continent can make up for some of their own shortcomings through cultivation, innate problems cannot be improved, such as sea soul beasts being destined to be restricted on land. Zhu Zhuqing looked at Dai Mubai. Apart from some sweat on her forehead, there seemed to be no major problem, and she felt relieved. But Dai Mubai's real situation is not very good. He didn't expect the resentment of the tiger shark to generate some wisdom. Taking advantage of the large amount of resentment being resisted by Dai Mubai, a small part flowed directly into Dai Mubai's body through the gap of the white tiger's protective barrier, attempting to control his physical body and expel his soul. Dai Mubai's movements on his hands dared not relax at all. He activated the right arm bone of the white-eyed demon Tiger King, emitting a dazzling white light from the center of his eyebrows, instantly neutralizing the black resentment. The soul bone skill was activated, and his spiritual power increased by 50% in its full state. This resentment wanted to snatch his own body. It also depends on whether Dai Mubai agrees or not. Zhu Zhuqing, who fell on the tree, couldn't help but clench her hands as she watched Dai Mubai's movements. Mubai. Fine beads of sweat began to appear on Dai Mubai's forehead, but the output of soul power was still huge, seemingly endless. His body was already incredibly strong, and he had opened up so many amplification skills in succession. Although the opponent was angry, he only needed to defend and consume the opponent. Just as Zhu Zhuqing thought things were going smoothly, Dai Mubai suddenly let out a loud shout, and the white tiger martial soul behind him began to be entangled in black resentment. Due to the fact that the martial soul hall was hunting and killing this deep-sea tiger shark with the intention of consuming it, Dai Mubai's constant consumption just triggered unpleasant memories for it. The idea of wanting to play with him and keep him was instantly replaced by a decisive killing intent. Humans are really cunning. The black resentment seemed like a pair of invisible big hands tightly patting Dai Mubai's chest, making him gasp for breath. The tail of the deep-sea tiger shark rushed upwards, swaying lightly for a while, and surprisingly, it was somewhat proud. Come on, humanity, give up your soul, dedicate your body, and I will live well for you. Dai Mubai's spirit echoed with this sentence, accompanied by the sharp laughter of jia jia jia. Although the sound was unpleasant and piercing, it had a heart-wrenching attraction that made people involuntarily want to submit. Dai Mubai didn't expect that. He thought the deep-sea tiger shark was just super powerful in attack, but he didn't expect it to have the advantage of bewitching people. Meow. A crisp and cold cat cry pierced through Baihu's protective barrier and rushed straight into Dai Mubai's ear, instantly awakening his somewhat scattered spirit. Zhu Qing. That's right, Zhu Qing is still outside. He can't just be defeated like this. How can he be the most perfect man in Zhu Qing's heart? I promised to protect her forever, how could I be knocked down by such a small tiger shark? Thinking of this, Dai Mubai's heart was clear, completely filled with Zhu Qing's figure. Now, she is all her driving force. Come on, let's see who consumes more energy. Dai Mubai disregarded his resentment and did something on himself. He launched the right leg bone of the bloodthirsty hurricane, which increased his attack, defense, and speed by 100%. Since that fish wants to fight against itself, come on. At the moment when the bloodthirsty frenzy was unleashed, Dai Mubai's eyes turned crimson. In order to defeat the opponent in one fell swoop, he was willing to temporarily abandon his mind, only to gather the maximum strength in a short period of time. Zhu Qing tightly grasped the trunk of the tree, afraid to make any sound, and looked straight in the direction of Dai Mubai. Suddenly, the branch beside her sank, and a warm hand rested on her body. Zhu Qing. Xiaowu, third brother. Tang San looked down at Dai Mubai with a smile on his face. Don't worry, Zhu Qing. Mubai is about to succeed. And this time, he will definitely acquire good skills. Tang San waved his left hand and a blue and gold divine power injected into his soul bone, forcibly dispelling the source of resentment. With Tang San's help, Dai Mubai quickly successfully eliminated all resentment, collected his soul power, and began to absorb soul bones. Zhu Qing, you go accompany Mubai, and I'll go see the fragrance. Xiao Wu and Zhu Qing gestured to each other, Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net, and then left with Tang San. Zhu Qing sat beside Dai Mubai, with the bright moonlight shining on her body, adding a touch of softness to her previously cold face. What she didn't notice was that the originally hazy moonlight suddenly rippled with purple and golden waves, staying in Zhu Qing's direction for a long time. However, Zhu Qing's gaze remained on Dai Mubai and she didn't notice it. After an unknown amount of time, the moon had been slowly falling under the cover of clouds, and the first ray of sunlight from the east fell onto the plaque of Shrek Academy. Dai Mubai finally opened his eyes. He grabbed Zhu Qing and fiercely ravaged her lips. He really loved this woman, and he had already made a lifelong promise since our first meeting as children. Wait, you tell me what skills you have obtained first. Zhu Qing, can't we talk about this tomorrow? After saying that, Dai Mubai was about to bully himself and push him over. Zhu Qing pressed against his chest and pointed to the golden light in the east. You see, it's already tomorrow, go ahead. Dai Mubai smiled helplessly and said, forget it, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Thanks to you and the third party, my soul power has reached the peak of level 96, almost reaching level 97. Oh, Boss Dai is fine. Oscar led Ning Rongrong out of the nearby room, with sincere smiles on both faces. Mubai, congratulations. I believe the skills brought by this deep-sea tiger shark are good. Dai Mubai walked quickly to Tang San's side and gave him a big hug. Thank you, mistress. There's no need to say this between us. If you want to thank Zhu Qing, thank her. Thanks to her. Ning Rongrong covered his mouth and chuckled, I think Boss Dai will thank Zhu Qing well. After listening to everyone's words, Zhu Qing's fair face also had 2 more blushes. Alright, tell me your skills quickly, don't talk nonsense. Chapter 10. The Field of Wild Beasts. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yeah, Mubai, just tell me quickly. If you want to kiss me with Zhu Qing, I'll have time when I get back to my room. Tang San smiled and glanced at Dai Mubai, taking out a piece of clothing from the bright moon night at the 24 bridges and handing it to him. Yeah, Dai, don't show off your love to Zhu Qing in front of us. This makes me envious, brother. Oscar looked at the beautiful woman beside him. He had already wanted to treat Ning Rongrong the same way Dai Mubai treated Zhu Qing, but the two had not yet held a wedding. Oscar always felt that he couldn't be so casual. The 9 Treasure Glass sect is now in a state of chaos, and the filial piety period of Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo has not expired. Moreover, the 9-colored resurrection light they used to revive Tang San resulted in them having no soul power for a year. No matter how much he hoped the wedding would come soon, now is definitely not a good time. Ning Rongrong saw Oscar's somewhat helpless expression, and his heart was not filled with feelings. She doesn't want to achieve success with Xiao Ao as soon as possible. But it really doesn't work right now. She pretended to easily hold on to Zhu Qing's arm and looked at Oscar with a feigned anger, adding a touch of vitality to her pretty face. Don't talk cold words, you big men. Dai, you better hurry up and show off your soul skills. Okay. Dai Mubai's whole body was full of breath, and his soul power quickly rose. His hands were like tiger claws, and he drew the word kill in mid-air. A yellow light mask suddenly fainted from the center of the killing character, surrounding the 6 people present. Tang San's eyes lit up and he said, Domain. It's actually a domain. That's right, that's why I want to thank you. This 90,000-year-old body soul bone not only increased my soul power to level 96, but also brought me a domain. Zhu Qing, are you okay? Ning Rongrong let out a startled breath and caught everyone's attention. Zhu Qing's face turned pale, and her body collapsed slightly on Ning Rongrong's body. The same situation also occurred on Xiao Wu's body. It's just that Xiao Wu's reaction wasn't that strong. Dai Mubai took Zhu Qing and let her lean against her arms. With a wave of his left hand, he folded up the realm and said loudly, This is my wild beast realm. All lower-level beast martial souls have their attributes reduced by 60%, while those of the same level and higher level as me have their attributes reduced by 40%. Damn it. This is too abnormal, right? Oscar couldn't help but curse, saying that once the beast martial soul master entered Dai Mubai's wild beast realm, it would basically become his own slaughterhouse. How many people on the whole continent can match the talent of Shrek 7 Monsters nowadays? Mubai, the abilities in this field are really great. Tang San took a step forward, feeling happy for Dai Mubai, but also had some doubts. Even if the deep-sea tiger shark can suppress the sea soul beast, it won't affect all the beast martial souls, will it? Dai Mubai nodded and said, That's right, I have also doubted this question, but that resentment is indeed generated by the body of the deep-sea tiger shark. However, it has already given birth to wisdom, and I can even hear its voice. If you want to know what's going on, you probably have to ask the people from the Martial Soul Hall. How is Xiang? Dai Mubai looked towards the direction of the girls' dormitory, where the red and purple light emitted outwards. Fatty guy is really well-intentioned. 6 monsters all understood in their hearts that since seeing by Qinxiang's first face, Ma Hongjun had no other position in his heart. Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with Xiang. After being tempered by the sea god light, her physical fitness has improved a lot. That soul bone is very suitable for her in terms of age and attributes. Besides, with a fat man guarding her side, there's no place for me to be useful. Tang San smiled and shrugged his shoulders. Brothers, after the fragrant soul bones are absorbed, let's set off for Sea God Island. After hearing Tang San's words, everyone nodded in agreement. Yes, Sea God Island is the final destination for this trip. In the room, Bai Qinxiang's whole body was soaked with sweat. Judging from her current level, her 40,000-year-old soul bone is still somewhat strained. If it weren't for Ma Hongjun constantly guarding outside the door, she probably wouldn't know how many times she had been ejected by the power of her soul bone. She clenched her hands tightly, her nails almost embedded in her flesh. She bit her lower lip hard, trying to use the smell of blood to stimulate herself not to be knocked unconscious by the power of her soul bones. Her heart was filled with unwillingness. If any of the Shrek 7 monsters had faced a soul bone that had been around for 40,000 years, it would not have been her current disheveled appearance. Since she has already stood with them, she must become the one qualified to stand by their side. I kept thinking back to the scene when I saw everyone absorbing the divine soul rings on the Sea God Island. It wasn't when I was on the brink of collapse that I got everything I wanted. Xiang, hold on. You can do it. Ma Hongjuan's voice came from outside the door, and the red figure gradually enlarged from among the seven, occupying Bai Qinxiang's entire mind. The flames of the sun shine brightly, the 9 fiery phoenixes that look down on all the birds, and the one who always looks at him with a smile in red clothes. No matter what, I must be worthy of him. He has become a Ban Douluo, can't I still compare to him? Thinking of this, Bai Qinxiang's whole body ignited with fighting spirit. For no other reason, just to be able to defeat Ma Hongjun, one day she will make those who mock her and say that she is not worthy to stand with Shrek 7 monsters completely shut up. The light purple light gradually dissipated and returned to calmness. The phoenix soul power wrapped around the dormitory was also retracted, and Tang San and others waiting outside knew that Xiang had succeeded. Bai Qinxiang opened the door and met the bright eyes at the door. Ma Hongjun opened his arms and didn't care if Bai Qinxiang struggled. He tightly wrapped her in his arms and said, Xiang congratulates you on having your first soul bone. Bai Qinxiang unexpectedly didn't scold him and leaned quietly in his arms, feeling quite comfortable. Xiang, congratulations. Before the Oscars arrived, Bai Qinxiang was startled and pushed Ma Hongjun away. He stumbled and fell directly into the arms of Dai Mubai, who had just turned in. Everyone's eyes were swirling around the two of them, it seemed that they had come in at a different time. I am now at level 62, thank you, third brother. It's okay, it seems that the effect of this soul bone is better than I imagined. After Xiang arrives at Sea God Island, he needs to practice well some time. Maybe your soul power can be further improved. Got it, third brother. Xiao Ao, you've run out of mushroom intestines. Oscar nodded. He doesn't have soul power now, he's just an ordinary person. If he encounters a powerful enemy, he might even have a problem protecting himself. However, upon careful consideration, there aren't many who can beat Xiao San and their 7 monsters. I have already thought about this. Since we don't have mushroom intestines anymore, why don't we take a boat? It's just like when we first went, and we can also visit Jixiang and Purple Pearl by the way. When talking about Purple Pearl, Dai Mubai, Oscar, and Ma Hongjun couldn't help but laugh. Who didn't know that their brothers had great charm, and Purple Pearl had been conquered? However, Tang San just hugged Xiao Wu tightly, and this time he wanted to prove to Purple Pearl that he had protected her very well.